The 4 phases that you need to move through in your relationship. Everyone has a relationship roadmap, but most people are totally unaware of it. It's so important you take an outside look at your relationship to see where you are on the journey and what you need to work on next. Now, before you enter phase 1, you start off single. You have less commitment. You don't have someone else to consider in your decisions. But then all of a sudden you find someone that you want to pursue in a dating sense. From this point, you have just begun on your relationship roadmap. First up, you enter phase 1, which is the honeymoon phase. This is usually the first 3 to 12 months, but can obviously vary a lot. This is when it's real smooth sailing. It's carefree, right? You both really get along. There's not much conflict at this stage. Love chemicals like oxytocin is flooding your brain with any small interaction. Anytime you get a text off them, you feel butterflies in your stomach. Anything the other person does feels charming and cute. There's not much personal growth at this stage because we grow in times of challenge and hardship, not when it's real smooth sailing. You're very much two personas in the early stages of dating. You're making a lot of effort for each other. You're making time for each other. You're going on date nights with each other. You're making sure you smell good, making sure you look good. You're still trying to impress the other person, right? At this stage, you haven't fully won the other person yet. And because you haven't won them yet, this gives you a deep desire to keep pursuing that person. The physical attraction would be really high and you're probably having a lot of sex. The word for this stage would be infatuation, where you both show and see the best sides of each other. If you're in this stage, my advice is enjoy it. Then after the honeymoon phase, you move into phase number 2, which is the comfort phase. In this stage, you're fully committed, right? You're all in this. You no longer have to pursue the other person because you've already won them, right? And suddenly you notice things aren't feeling the same as they used to. You stop going on as many date nights. You're not making as much effort. Sexy pajamas being replaced with baggy t-shirts. You're probably having way less sex. All of life's distractions seem to be getting in the way of you both. You don't feel as excited to see them anymore. It's like the novelty and the newness of the relationship has wore off a bit. The perfect personas you had in the honeymoon phase starts to drop away because you can only pretend to be someone you're not for so long. It's not saying that you were being fake, just a more polished version of yourself. Now it feels like the two egos are waking up and they're battling it out, right? In the honeymoon phase, you had infatuation. This is when your brain filters out the experience to only see the good. Now in the comfort phase, your brain can start filtering out and only seeing the bad, only spotting the imperfections and everything that's wrong with the relationship. You both begin to trigger each other and the insecurities can come to the surface. The main reason for this is because it's a committed relationship now, right? Like we mentioned earlier, you're all in this, and this can bring up a lot of things for people. They can remember past experiences, last time they had a long-term relationship, what happened then, and then get fearful of this relationship. So if you're listening to this and you feel like you're in the comfort phase, know it's totally normal for these weird emotions to come up. It's not feeling the same as it used to be. You're starting to transition into that serious relationship. It's that weird phase, right? If you're in this phase, know it's totally normal and keep going. Because after the comfort phase, you reach phase 3, which is healing and growth. This is when you start desiring to understand each other rather than trying to win fights. You both mature and realize you're on the same team. You stop looking for who's right and wrong. Instead, you turn your attention to how can I support the other person? It can feel like a real ego death because you're letting down your walls to become one team. It can feel like you're surrendering the part of you that needs to defend itself. This will require deeper levels of love, compassion, and awareness. This is when you start practicing making the other person feel safe and secure so that they can be totally vulnerable with you. You start seeing the other person as their whole complete package rather than just seeing the good or just seeing the bad. And the same towards you. That other person sees you in your completeness. And this is the best form of personal development, right? Being totally seen, allowing the other person to see all of you. Because your partner will reveal parts of you that you didn't even know was there, triggers and insecurities that were laying under the surface. And then when your partner triggers you, it's about growing through these triggers, right? This is the ultimate form of personal development because they will reveal parts of you, then you get to work through them. You can't work on something that you're totally unaware of. In the healing growth phase is when you really start to grow together as a couple. When you fully face these challenges and decide to work through them, you learn how to hold space for the other person instead of emotionally reactive, right? Triggers still come up in this phase. The main difference between phase 2 and phase 3 is you actually decide to work through them. This is a huge focus in our online program, Conflict Codes. Most clients come to us in phase 2 or phase 3. They're experiencing these insecurities, these triggers, these arguments, these conflicts, and they're wanting to work through them. We give them a toolkit on how to do that, to fast track, right? To go from phase 2 to phase 3 and later into phase 4, which is the deeper soul connection. Within phase 4, you start to fully understand each other's shadows and wounds, and you decide to see that person as their whole complete self. So in the honeymoon phase, you're infatuated. You're only seeing the good. Then in the comfort phase, you start to only see the bad, the imperfections, right? In the healing and growth, you're learning how to grow together. And once you reach deeper soul connection, you see them as their whole complete self and you love them for their whole complete self. You both choose love even when it's hard. the team dynamic is so strong that any arguments or conflicts you have doesn't change how you see the other person. It doesn't mean you don't have these arguments and conflicts. It just means that you move through them so much faster and come out the other side of them even stronger and more connected. You'll be creating a divine union, a partnership, right? Built on compassion, love, and commitment. Being fully exposed to the other person, which means there's no more walls left up. There's nothing that you feel the need to hide. You can be your whole complete self. Even on your worst days, you know that your partner fully loves you through all of it. You fully understand your needs and your partner's needs, and you effectively communicate them. You both act as a secure base for each other to go out and achieve in other areas of your life. No more overthinking or being jealous in your relationship. You've worked through the trust issues, right? You know each other's values and you respect them for that. The need to criticize, to judge, or to change goes away. You're both loving each other for who you are rather than who you want them to be. You're both mastering the power dynamics. You're both becoming the best version of you, both inside and outside the relationship. This is where you want your relationship to get to, past the honeymoon phase, past the comfort phase, through the healing and growth, and to this deeper soul connection. The problem is though, couples arrive in phase number 2, which is the comfort phase, where the triggers and insecurities come out, where the novelty wears off, and they refuse to go into phase number 3, which is healing and growth. They say things like, I want it to be like it used to be. So they get into this cycle of arriving in the comfort phase, wanting to go back to the honeymoon phase, but then arriving at the comfort phase again. They refuse to go into phase number 3, which is the healing and growth. And because of this, they don't face their own shit, right? They don't work through their triggers. They don't work through their insecurities. They just jump from one relationship to the next, expecting it to be easy. These people that jump from relationship to relationship are just chasing that honeymoon phase, right? They're just chasing the high. And as soon as it reaches the comfort phase, they just go on to the next one. In order to create a deeply connected relationship, you must be able to work through your own shit. You must face your triggers and insecurities. You must learn to grow through conflict. You must learn to love the other person for who they are rather than who you want them to be or who you expect them to be. This is exactly why we created our online program, Conflict Codes. After impacting over 100 million people online on the topic of relationships and coaching over 200 people to create their dream relationship, we asked, how can we create a system that helps couples grow through conflict in the easiest way possible? And Conflict Codes is the result of that. It's a step-by-step system where you get to learn how to work through your own shit, how to grow through conflict in your relationship so that you can go through the phases faster, right? It's a fast track, going through the comfort phase, through the healing phase, and arriving in that deeper soul connection. If you're wanting more details to see if it's a good fit for you, hit the first link in the description or in the comments. It'll take you to a landing page, it'll show you all the details, and it'll give you a 5-minute video that walks you through the 4 phases that we go through with our clients. If it looks like a good fit for you, we would love to see you on the inside to truly transform your relationship this year. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll speak soon.